Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Decisions Lunch and Learn. I'm your host for today, Gregory Goldston of the Decisions Training Team. Let's go over the stuff on the right. First of all, Decisions Support YouTube channel. We've got a lot of different stuff there, including previous Lunch and Learns, as well as tutorials on how to make particular kinds of functions or types of projects in Decisions. We have instructions on how to utilize certain steps, such as the Excel steps or the Apache Kafka module steps. We cover different modules. We cover different kinds of steps. We cover different kinds of designers. So highly recommend taking a look there if you're looking for help on anything that you're trying to build inside of the platform. Below that, we have our Decision Solutions Marketplace. This is the location where we house different types of projects that you can import into your environment completely free and utilize or take from or reverse engineer and understand how they function. They are just going to be providing different kinds of projects that you can utilize for your business purposes. So highly recommend taking a look at the solutions marketplace. And then below that, we have our decisions product roadmap review. This is where we give you sneak peeks about the stuff that is coming out in the future on the decisions product. You can sign up at decisions.com/events in order to be a part of those meetings. So with that being said, I'm going to swap over to my decision screen now, and then we'll start addressing our Q&A. All right, so give me a moment to do that swap. Shouldn't take but a moment. And here we are inside of my decisions environment. All right. Looks like we've already got a Q&A up. So let me bring up my people here. And what do we got? How do we change things like hours on the timestamp type object? Let me allow you to talk so I can get a little bit more context on what you're asking, Vitali. What you got?
Hello. So, for example, if I need to calculate time, let's say between some things, and I output time, what it called? It's not timestamp. It's
Daytime?
no, time span.
Time span data type.
Yes.
Okay.
And let's say I have, you can create like a constant time span, but down the flow, if I want to change, let's say hours on that time span object, how would I do that?
Oh, that's a good question. All right, so we're going to save that. We'll call this time span test. Okay. Save that, exit. All right, I see that decisions is not cooperating right now. But right here, we have a constant, and then here's the flow data type, so you'd be passing that along, and you want to make edits to that type. Okay, let's see how we would be able to do that. So let's say that we set hours will be 8, days will be 9, minutes will be 7, just to keep it consistent here. Okay, so we have that time span in here. How do we
Let's say you want to change hours from 8 to 9.
Right, right. Some sort of dynamic update there. I get what you're saying. So pardon me, I'm gonna need a service restart. I'm on an unstable build, so this can happen sometimes. Okay, so we have a time span test of the type time span. We're going to take that time span in here, and then we'll take that as the input for this, and we want to alter it. Because if we go flow data, I don't know what we do if we like build properties on this. I don't think we can. Yeah, this is a default type. That's what I was thinking. I didn't think it was converted of other properties. What is your use case that you're looking for here?
Let's say I need to calculate time frame within 1 day, for example, or within couple days. So I have time span, 2 time spans from and to, and I say, for example, I spend from my day to another day. Let's say, for example, it's a clock that I worked. So I clocked in at 4 p.m., clocked out at 2 a.m. next day, and I want to calculate how much time I worked within this day, but also, let's say, add 1 hour.
Okay.
I know that you can do it with integer, but the purpose is that I do need to output time span. So I need to adjust time span.
Okay.
The workaround would be to set hours on date, but it's not always perfect because, if you go over 1 day, then which date do you want? I mean, it's kind of risky if you're close to midnight.
Hmm. Start time span. Okay, I'm just looking into this. This isn't something that this structured object is designed to kind of create well, exactly what it says here, a time span as far as that's concerned. Now, how to calculate that, I'm wondering if we can't map it. I want to check. It's just going to be one of these kind of days. Okay. Yeah, I had a feeling this wasn't going to do that sort of thing, and I don't think span is going to bring up anything either. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you can definitely do it by the integer route, but let's see here.
I tried to do set property on object and use time span, and property path would be hours, but hours expect time span as well. You cannot pass integer.
You can't pass an integer. It just expects a time span as far as being passed into the time span, right?
Yeah, and hours itself is time span.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay. So I think the only steps that we have by default here, that's a rule. That subtracts. Okay. No, it's not going to work. I don't know if we have by default operations on the time span object in decisions as far as performing that subtraction and division. It would probably be more recommended to pass out the integer. And then I guess I'm also trying to understand what object are you trying to use that needs that time span? Like what step requires that time span input?
Because I want to use time without date.
You want to use time without date. Okay. So you're trying to utilize this step or something along this line. So you're just trying to get, that doesn't take in time span. Okay. Yeah, I can look into that for you, Vitali. I feel like the answer here is just using integer calculations instead, since there are default steps for that. But if we're trying to preserve the time span object, I can ask and do some more testing and see if that's possible. Yeah, get properties on object won't work because yeah, it doesn't matter what specific property you try to get, it's just going to be of the type time span. It is its own type. You can't build data on it. It doesn't have those nested sub properties. And this is just our UI to interact with it, right? Over here. So the way this is actually output.
Yes, I wonder why, if you can just set it up like that, why can't you just use like an inputs dynamic into days and hours?
Well, it's not treating it like different properties, right? It's just one property. It's the way that it formats the data here.
Yeah, and one of the reasons, for example, if I say my time span is 1 hour 59 minutes, and at the end of the day, I would like to translate it to a decimal, which will translate into 1.99.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like 99% of the next hour. And it's easy with the time span.
Okay. Gotcha. I see. Yeah. Yeah, that would be because then you don't have to figure out how many hours per day, minutes per, like translate that dynamically, minutes per second 60, and then hours into minutes 60, and then days into hours 24, that sort of thing. Okay. Yeah, I can see. I don't think there's an individual way to adjust that property. I mean, probably some shenanigans with like snipping characters and stuff, but I don't know if that's the most advisable here. Actually, hold on. Oh, now I'm curious about something. Hold on. And then positions, we'll make that constant source flow data. Yeah, and then that breaks it out into your individual types. That's what I thought. And if we debug this real quick, yep, that's fine. One.
Can you try get JSON from object or something like that? Could be easier.
I'll try that. I will try get JSON from object. It is 7. Hold on. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If we split string by character positions, then you would have access to each individual date time here. But
Can you get it back to time span?
not certain. So get JSON from object you're asking for?
I would say get uh, yes, get JSON from object or data pairs.
I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, this one get best name data pairs or
Get data
something.
pairs for JSON object properties.
Then you have to have JSON, right?
Right.
Can you get pairs from object? Can you search for data pairs?
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. Get data pair by name, get data pair for JSON object properties.
Okay, so you should be able to create JSON from data and then get data pairs for JSON object properties.
make this a little bit easier here to see. There we go. All right. All right, and then we'll pass in. Hold on. And then that's going to create the JSON pair, and then we'll set flow data from there. See what happens. Doesn't like that. Line 1, position 1. Current JSON rear IM is not an object. All it did was add quotation marks around it.
You need to do merge plain text and get data pairs from JSON object and merge that the way that it is an object.
All right.
In JSON text, instead of inputs, yeah, use merge plain text.
I don't know if that's going to work for an object.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not a string that it's building, it's an object. So I don't think that's going to function. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to.
Oh, not on this one, on get the data pairs.
For my
Yeah.
input here. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. So, no, it should be curly brace, and then your create from JSON data output. Close curly brace. And I would assume that before create JSON from data, can you do in quotes, let's say data after curly brace? Quote in quotes data?
Yeah, and then I'll put the semicolon there.
Yes. Can you try that?
I don't think this is going to work, but we can give it a go. Okay.
So just output string. Okay. Doesn't help.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't think it's creating a single. Yeah, that's not going to break it down into its properties.
Okay.
Because I don't think this is designed to be broken apart like that to be able to be calculated with. I can look for potential steps that might do that, but I don't think this route's going to get us there.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I will definitely let you know what I find. Because that's, yeah, it would be nice if we could do some calculations with these instead of just, integers. All right. Our second question is, I need to generate an auto ID with a prefix in a form. My test did not work. Thanks. Patty, I'm going to allow you to talk real quick. So.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Good. I'm good. Thank you. My question always simple one.
So you need to generate an ID with a prefix in a form.
I use the generate next ID with pat characters, but the parameters maybe I put it in wasn't right. But anyway, it didn't. When I run the form, I don't see the ID loaded.
Okay. Did you do it before the form? Did you just use a
Yeah, active form flow inside
active
the
form flow? Okay, gotcha. So we'll have it run on startup and we'll populate it there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll get a show form step.
Mm-hmm.
Make one real quick. All right, and then we'll display the ID up here. And no, I don't want a label on this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll go into here, active form flow, and then we will do the get next ID.
It's an internal services.
They did move it there, didn't they? Okay. Drag that over here. My decisions instances, I'm on unstable build right now, so this kind of stuff can happen. It's a GUID, it's an ID step, ID generation. There we go. And then get next ID.
Get next ID with prefixes. You know, I use with characters. You know, the method name. I use a different one. Oh, you put it there. Okay, prefix. Yeah, anything you can put.
I'll do LNL. Let's do LNL.
Yeah.
All right, and then you want to pad characters.
Yeah, I use the method called pad characters. Maybe you can go back because I want to do exactly what I do. So in the method name, do pick, the second one. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then I can pick what I want to be the
I put in
character.
0 and the length I put in 5. It's all constant. Okay. Yeah. And I think everything else is the same.
Okay. So that fetches that, and then it's going to set our control value for us. Form data, there should be an ID text box. Yeah, that's what it's going to set. And then that will come from our get next ID. Save that. This should run at startup.
I'm running on the save, but that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to generate right at the beginning, then
For my testing, I do need to do that because I want to see if it's there, you know.
Okay. That's all this is going to do is create an ID. And now if we exit and save this.
Okay. Yeah.
Now let's debug. That didn't work. Let's try it again. Let's debug again. This is going really slow right now. Hold on. Give me a moment here. I'm going to fix this real quick. Give me a moment. Exit out of this, exit out of this. And then decisions is going to do a restart. So this is just going to generate an ID and put it in the form. And every time this runs, it is going to generate a new ID. It's not designed to regenerate the same ID, whether it was saved or not. Anytime this step is hit, it's designed to generate an ID that is after the previous one generated. It doesn't look for where it was saved. So just want to make that clear.
Okay. Can you go back to the flow? I think the second step, control value, I want to see that again. The flow.
Yep. We're going to debug this real quick. I'm going to see how this works now that here we go.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yep. So it generates. So yeah, that's all you need to do is have that run on startup. Something that you want to keep in mind is if you're trying to run it on save, which I'm assuming is an outcome you've created here, like an outcome button, then what you're doing is you're almost running like a validation, like clicking save is not necessarily going to generate it up here in time before the form closes, unless it's designed to be blocking. If you're just going to
that's exactly. I want to block that. The end user cannot do anything about that ID, but by the time they save it, it's populated. I'm just afraid they log on to the form, do a certain thing, and the ID already generated, but they may they change their mind doing something else. But in any case, if they do not save it, that number won't be used, right? Let's say they open and a number, the prefix number loaded as 004, and they just exit. They didn't even save it. And next time when they run the form again, this number will come up again, right? Not the 5.
No, 5 will come up because the step was run.
Yeah, see, that's where I'm thinking I like to, really have that number saved with all the record rather than there are some number being used but not good record. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. There are a few different ways that you could utilize that. There are actually a few different ways you could do that. One of them is you could check you can have a fetch that occurs before the form is even loaded that checks what the most recent number was and determines if there's a certain like flag or something indicated in it. So if you had a data structure and then let's say there's a Boolean of like saved, right? So that means it's a valid record currently. If it sees saved, then it generates a new number, right? Otherwise, if it sees something like not saved, then it grabs that information first. Now, you do need to be careful implementing this because if you want this on a per user basis, then you're going to want some sort of control that filters by who saved that, right? That sort of thing. And the person may be wanting to try and make a new record besides the previous one that was loaded. So you would need some sort of logic to be able to determine what's been created already. This step only checks how many times it's run. There is an internal table that keeps track of these numbers as an increment that is separate from whatever data structure you're creating to utilize these numbers in.
Yeah, I think in all my forms, I like to do that rather than they just open the form in the middle of something they left or exit without saving it and come back, the next number generated. And there are some bunch of, numbers not actually used. And I want to have a clean number sequence in the system.
Yeah. There are definitely, different approaches to that. One of them is not actually giving it a number until it's been saved and processed. So that way you can't utilize, a previously saved one. If you are saving records, you need to have some logic that determines where they're being saved and who can fetch them, right? But those are your different options. You can have it after the flow is processed, have that generate once and then after everything's being saved. So that way you do get that clean increment. You can have another process that does not run this step before, or some sort of check to run this step before to determine if all previously created records have been saved or modified, that sort of thing, if you want this number displayed to the user. There are other ways to generate IDs as well. If you're trying to generate it from some sort of external database that has its own ID system, then you don't need to use the decisions one. That's another option.
Yeah, I'll use the decision one, inside the decision. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Did you have any more questions on that?
I think I will give a try, either fetch before or, as a separate step.
Okay, so you're looking to still have this number up here. Okay, so you want this number up here. Then, yeah, what you would want to do is have some sort of fetch determines, hey, was there a previous record that was unsaved for this user, right? For this initiating user. If yes, put that in instead. Don't run our ID generation, right? If no, then run the ID generation. Now, something to keep in mind is that these IDs are generated, I'm assuming, across all users. Not each user gets their own ID, right?
Yeah,
like their
it
own
is
ID
all
train.
user. Oh, that's a question I want to ask you. There is a setting where you can pick user or system. I pick the system. Is that right?
What setting?
From the property, when you set up a next number, generate next number from the flow. Yeah, on that step.
This?
Yeah. Is that what you're talking about? A current user? Oh, that's security setting.
That's determining what permissions are needed to run this ID generation.
That's security. I thought it's something to do with okay.
No. All you're determining is, are all the users who are running this step having the correct permissions to actually do it? And if they don't, like if you need to be an admin to run this and the current user is not an admin, it's going to fail here. Otherwise, you set it to system if you want it to always execute when it's hit.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, just realized that's security setting.
Yep. That is to prevent users from running steps that they shouldn't if you're trying to be cautious of that.
Okay.
Yeah, what you're looking more for is some sort of rule logic, right? Before it hits this that says, all right, does a previous number exist that is also in a saved state, not a completed state, right?
Right.
And then if yes, what is the latest number, right? And then what you determine is, of those numbers that are not saved, right? Do any of them belong to this user, right? Did this user's name get associated with any of those numbers? Was this user the one that saved them? If yes, then you should bring up that one for that user, right? Bring up the latest one. If no, then you can generate a new ID for this user, because even though there are ones that are saved, they weren't saved by this user, right? Yep. So you're looking for something like a fetch, just to look for those, and you'll check by, some sort of fetch criteria of saved, equals true, right? Something along those lines. Saved equals false, or complete equals true. And then you'll check your results, and then anything that exists in there, you'll have a rule that can filter that out, right? And you say, okay, of those, do any of them belong to this user? You don't want to filter just by user records in here.
Okay.
Well, you could. Yeah, because it's the same logic either way. Because, yeah, even if there are previous saves, if none of them are from this user, then you can just create a new ID, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. If you get any results from that. If there are no results, right? If there are no results for the previous one, then you can generate a new ID, right? Integration, internal services, right? If you said, all right, fetch all the records that are in a saved state and not completed, and for that current user. If nothing exists, that means the user has no currently saved state records, then just create, right? Just generate a new ID. Right? Generate an ID, pass that in. If such a record exists for the user, right, then we get results back. Then what we want, if we get results back, and this is where it gets a little tricky, you're going to have to figure out which, well, actually, if we do get a result back, we should just get one, right? With this logic, the user shouldn't have multiple saved forms, though I guess they technically could if they ignored that and went on to another one. You would have to find, you can either pass in both results and have some sort of logic that says, hey, you have 2 previously saved records. Which one did you want to work on? Or just pass in the latest one and say, here's your last saved record. Is this what you were trying to edit, right? But that might be the kind of logic that you're looking for.
Okay, so if that's the case, I do not need the active workflow inside the form anymore, right?
No, if you're going to do this logic beforehand, you do not need active form flow to generate an ID.
Because it's handled before the form open. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Okay. All right. I'm going to give a try. Okay.
Yeah. If you run into any trouble, if you're not quite sure how something is supposed to function, reach out to support@decisions.com because they can go into your environment. But
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Sure thing. Have a good day.
Okay. Bye-bye. You too. Bye-bye.
All right. We have not had anyone else new join, and I've not seen any more questions. So I'll give you all a little bit of a sneak peek of what's coming to 9.13 real quick. And if we don't see any more questions after that, we'll just end it a little early. So something kind of cool with 9.13 here real quick, and I'll debug this. So you can already see the debugger dialog has been updated, right? We get exceptions over here. If I wanted to go over here, anytime I'm running my flows, I'm going to get this option to edit in a new tab now. So I can keep my debugger open and then go in and edit this. I can change my flow, how it functions, perform the saves that I want to. I'm going to drag this to the end step real quick just to demonstrate this update. Right. So I'm going to save this now. And then if I exit out of this, it should take me back to the debugger. Should. Yeah, there's my separate tab. And now I'm going to stop this. We're going to debug again. Didn't update that. That's probably because I had it locked on the same entity. But where this can really come in handy is that this also functions on the global debugger. So you don't have to go in and try and find those entities specifically anymore in the portal search. You can just right click, edit a new tab, and you can be dragged to that entity, that flow specifically. So pretty nice little update to the debugger. And with that being said, and with no more questions, I think we're going to end this one early. Thank you all very much for attending this Lunch and Learn. I'll be your host tomorrow as well, and I look forward to seeing you all then.